The Russian ruble has bounced back after plummeting to new lows earlier today, both against the dollar and the euro. The situation is not being helped either by plunging oil prices. RT's Medina Kocheva has more.
There are some speculation on the market that there might be some new announcements coming from the country's central bank. Now, overall, this volatility follows quite a change in the strategy led by the Russian central bank, as the bank used to control the ruble's exchange rate, trying to keep it in between certain boundaries. But now it has decided to limit the amount of its interventions on the market and make the ruble a free-floating currency. So this is one of the reasons that is causing this instability on the market. And Yaroslav Lisavolik from Deutsche Bank has explained the move made by the central bank.
This is the right decision to allow more exchange rate flexibility. I do think that this, first of all, will allow the central bank to save reserves and not to spend them at the rate that was observed in October of this year, when just in 1 month alone the central bank spent nearly $30 billion to defend the currency. And the second factor is that this is in line with the longer-term objectives of the central bank of a transition to inflation targeting to a more flexible exchange rate.
For the domestic market, such a situation, of course, creates a number of challenges and risks. But speaking about international trade and exports deals, now that works the other way around, as trade is carried out in other currencies. So the weaker home currency means that sellers will now end up with more rubles. Now, among other factors that are pressing the ruble down are, of course, the falling global oil prices, as Russia is one of the leading energy exporting countries. So this current significant drop means quite a hit to the country's budget revenues. Now, the OPEC members have already announced that they are ready to intervene in the oil pricing if the level falls below $70 a barrel. And the Russian President Vladimir Putin has explained what he believes is causing this instability. Now, among other reasons, he mentioned that politics is affecting the price of oil, and at times it seems that politics is even prevailing the pricing.
OK, let's get further analysis on this story now from Alexander Prosviryakov, Treasury and Commodities Consultant, who's here to speak to us. Thank you for coming in. Such an important story. I really just want to go straight to the nub of the matter. The ruble has been tanking, then suddenly it's fought back strongly today. What is the driving force behind all this?
Hi, Neil. Yeah, of course, it's the oil price. We see the oil price dropped quite substantially during the last few months. And basically, in order to keep the budget revenues on the same level in ruble terms, the dollar follows the oil price. So this is what happened with the ruble. It went up to 48 today because the oil price was about $80 per barrel. If we look at the budget for the next year, the government budget, there is a forecast of the oil price at $100 per barrel, and the rate is 37. So all we have to do is simple mathematics. We multiply the 100 by 37, it's 3,700 rubles per barrel. And basically, the price of the dollar ruble should reflect this amount.
Okay, so it's all about the oil price. Why are we seeing the oil price change so much?
Well, this is a separate question. There are numerous reasons for this. First of all, this is because Saudi Arabia has decreased the price that it charges the Asian consumers and the U.S. consumers. One of the theories is that Saudis are doing this in order to prevent the U.S. From expanding into the shale oil, right, into the fracking oil production, because I think the benchmark level, the break-even level for the oil price for the U.S. production of the shale oil is about $85. So when the oil price is below that level, it does not make economic sense to continue producing for the Americans.
So basically, that's the Saudis trying to price the Americans out of the market.
Yeah, they want to keep their own positions, and that's why they don't want new entrants. And they see that this is new entrants in the market, and they want to keep the status quo.
So we see oil prices dropping, the ruble affected directly. Where does the central bank and its free floating of the ruble come into this? What effect does that have?
Yeah, the central bank used to control the ruble, as we heard from Yaroslav, and now the central bank decided to free float the ruble. Why is that important? cheap currency is always good for the economy. This makes our production more competitive. We can export our products to other countries. And the countries that have a strong currency, they're the buyers usually. So if we look at the structure of our economy, we are exporters. We export natural resources and energy resources. So that's why the weaker the national currencies, the better off we are in terms of competitiveness of our own market.
So if you're a company that's importing foreign goods, then it's a difficult time for you. But actually, if you're not doing that, and if you're spending your money in Russia, then this is a good thing.
If you're a company that is importing something, yeah, it's bad for you because you buy things abroad and you want to sell them to Russia. So basically if we look at the supermarkets, they're doing quite good because there are newcomers in the market who produce the same kind of goods here locally in Russia. And basically they start buying from them. So if we look at the sales figures, they're not dropping. People are still consuming the same amount of goods. The only difference is now these goods are not coming from abroad. They're produced locally in Russia.
Now you see the people in the country, maybe they don't fully understand what's going on. They're sort of panicking. People change their money into dollars and stuff. But actually, you're saying that the government are quite happy for this to happen. Is there a point at which, though, they will step in if the ruble falls too far?
I think, yeah, if the volatility becomes too harsh, then of course the central bank will take certain measures. A 20%, like a 30% drop in the currency is not something specific. If you look at what happened to euro dollar, if we look at other currencies, if we look at Ukraine, the currency went down 60% already. This is not something terrible for the country. Of course, this worries people, that people usually count their savings in the amount of products they can buy or foreign trips they can make. And now what people are bothered about is they cannot go to Europe and spend the same amount of money that they used to for the last 5 years when ruble was artificially too strong.
But so actually they can buy quite a lot in Russia with those rubles still.
Exactly. They can buy the same amount of products in Russia because if you look at the inflation figures, they're not reflecting the change in the rates of the dollar. So basically the goods are still the same price. People make the same amount of rubles. So it's not affecting their lifestyle in any way. The only people who are affected is those who make money in Russia and spend all of them outside of Russia. But I don't think the government should support those people. They should think about the people living in Russia.
Absolutely, I agree with this one. I'll be holidaying in Russia, that's for sure, this Christmas. Alexander Prosviryakov, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I feel a little bit calmer after hearing that now. Treasury and Commodities Consultant.